So, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. She's excited to serve Illinois as the state's 48th Lieutenant Governor. Previously, Lieutenant Governor Stratton represented the 5th District in the Illinois House of Representatives. Prior to her time in state government, she was the director of the Center for Public Safety and Justice at the University of Illinois at Chicago, where she trained law enforcement agencies to build strong relationships with the communities they serve.
So how has the conference and the summit been so far?
Good.
Yes. Any key points that you've taken from today that you can say you want to take with you? Yes, what's something you think are just like, that was so good, I want to take that with me.
We had a speaker a few hours ago who spoke with us about about the essence of networking and the idea that you're not just trying to get something from someone, but you're also trying to develop long-term relationships and figure out how you can share and contribute to something to someone else as well.
Yeah, that's very good. Networking is hard. Networking was really hard for me because I would walk in a room and say, nobody wants to talk to me. They're all talking already. But people also feel that way, so when you walk up to them to talk and start building that relationship. Anything else that kind of stood out today? No?
We got the governor in the house.
Yes, what's something that stood out for you?
I learned that we should have multiple resumes for different markets. It's kind of like mind-blowing to me, especially for somebody who kind of works in everything. It's kind of pointing in my head like 50 resumes. So that's fine.
Yeah, depending on what you're focused on and you want to have something that's targeted. Well, I want to start today by first just congratulating you all for how far you've come thus far. I know that making it in college and navigating a path to success in college is always filled with twists and turns and challenges at every side, especially if you perhaps might be the first person in your family to go to college. I don't know if that applies to anyone here. Or if you are the only or one of just a few students of color on your campus. I know that that can often be difficult. So I was thrilled to hear about today's summit, where you are being intentional about having a successful college experience by examining the notion of authenticity and not assimilation. I know a little bit about being the first or the only. After all, on January 14th, when I placed my hand on the Bible and raised my right hand to be sworn in, I was being sworn in as the first Black Lieutenant Governor in the history of Illinois, in our 200-year history to be exact. So clearly, I'm navigating uncharted waters. And I'm often the only person of color or the only woman of color in many of the rooms in which I find myself. But I'm also a graduate of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, so I remember feeling very isolated when I was on that incredibly large campus of about 40,000 plus students and rarely seeing anyone who looked like me. And so when we would see each other, it was always like, hey, way across the quad, because it was like, I need to know, I see you, you see me, and making sure you connected with somebody who understood your experience. And then when I went to law school at DePaul, I was one of 3 Black students in my class. And I remember on the first day of law school, we all were sort of sitting on the floor, lined up, kind of like how everybody's in the front row, but we were on the floor. And I remember someone going down, you want to be in a study group? You want to be in a study group? Do you want to be in a study group? Do you want to be in a study group? And then there's me, skipped and said, oh, do you want to be in a study group? And went right over me. And again, they didn't know me, they had never seen me speak, they had never known my study habits. They had no idea what I was capable of, and so maybe they just thought they couldn't connect with me, or maybe they thought that I couldn't cut it. So I wasn't asked to be in a study group, as everybody was gathering that at the beginning of law school. I'm pretty sure that none of them thought that I would be their lieutenant governor and the highest ranking woman that's elected in the state of Illinois. But I don't know. That's not my problem anymore. Several weeks ago, I visited the high school that I attended, Kenwood Academy, and I served as principal for a day. And while there, I was asked by one of the girls who was a student there, how I'm able to be my best self, despite the challenges that I face as a woman and as a woman of color. And it was a great question, and it's one that I think of often. And what has helped me to be my best self is to always strive to be authentically me and to speak my own truth. Because I recognized early on that if I'm silent about the things that I care about or I'm passionate about simply because they make other people feel uncomfortable, then perhaps we would never see real change and true liberation for our people and our communities. And so I began to understand the power of my voice. And if there's any aspect of authenticity that no one can take from you, it's the power of your voice. The power that begins with your being present and engaged with your whole self. Your lived experience is your strength. And it is your voice that carries the experiences of you and your community. And as you navigate through institutions where you're often the first or the only or just one of a few, remember that you're not just there to learn from others. You are teaching others. And you teach others by sharing your truth and by using your voice. So never be ashamed of your story or your struggle or the opinions that have been shaped by your life experiences, because your story is unique and it is powerful. But let's face it, being authentically you is easier said than done when you're in spaces where your authentic self is often questioned or challenged, or perhaps even faced with outright hostility. It's hard to focus on studying or classwork or a social life when you're faced with microaggressions or you don't feel like there's a support system in place to help you succeed. So I thought I'd share a few things that I thought might be helpful as you continue to navigate these spaces. First and foremost, understand that you have to build a community where you can. Find the students that you vibe with, not just to hang out or party with, but your people. Who are your real people on campus that you can talk to about real life stuff? And know that you won't always find your people in freshman year, because everybody is there trying to figure out where they fit in and trying to figure out how to stay afloat. But you will find them eventually, and sometimes it's unexpectedly. Secondly, building your campus community also includes identifying faculty or staff that you can trust, and don't limit that just to your professors. There may be a trusted adult in the cafeteria, or someone who's a security guard or a librarian who sees you. And as they see you walking on the campus, they are secretly cheering you on. Find those who are genuinely encouraging to you. And they might, again, be in unlikely spaces, but you can connect with them and perhaps find an ally in them. Third, you have 4 years, and it's your experience, and many times it's your money. So explore. Join organizations if that's what you want to do. Play sports, go to events, whatever sparks your interest and feeds your soul. Do that. Move beyond just doing what everyone else is doing to realizing what an incredible opportunity you have to take 4 years to figure out exactly what it is that you like doing and to develop new passions. Fourth, when you feel like you are being singled out or misunderstood, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Learning how to advocate for yourself is not always easy, because you're dealing with people in positions of power. And so you may feel like, what am I supposed to say? How am I going to, be successful in this conversation? And the key is you can talk to somebody that you trust. It could be a parent, it could be an older sibling, it could be somebody who's been in a similar situation or an upperclassman, and just talk to them and have them talk you through what you should say to advocate for yourself. And then finally, when it comes to being viewed as potentially aggressive or threatening when you advocate for yourself, I would say don't worry about that. And here's why. Because the truth is that you will oftentimes be viewed as threatening or aggressive just by walking through the door. I'm sure I'm not the only one here today who has experienced expressing my opinion and being as calm as I can, just sharing that this is what I think, but then I'm accused of yelling or being upset. When really I'm just telling you what my opinion is. Or maybe you've disagreed with someone and you had a different opinion. You say, no, I don't see it that way. I see it in a different way. And someone views you as being difficult. Well, I've had that experience. And so unfortunately, it's all too common. But don't let that be a barrier to your using your voice. Everyone won't be as passionate about what you're passionate about. And everyone won't see things the way that you see them. And if they don't agree, that is in fact what college life is really about. It's about meeting people who have different ideas and perspectives. If they are intimidated by your confidence or your unwavering beliefs, then that's their problem, not yours. So never dim your light just so that someone else can shine more brightly. Be who you are. In fact, understand, as I said before, that learning your true, authentic self often comes with engaging with people from different backgrounds and perspectives who may not look like you or think like you. And being in this environment can in fact challenge you to consider what it is that you truly believe and why you believe it. So sometimes you can even use that environment to your advantage. I have 3 daughters who are adults, and all of them attended PWIs, and I asked one of them, who is now 24, to share her thoughts on authenticity in college. And this is what Cassidy said. She said, I remained authentic to myself throughout my college life through a healthy form of selfishness. As Black students in predominantly white spaces, we are almost expected to fail or mess up, and therefore held to higher expectations than most. She said, I think by practicing self-care and self-introspection, I was able to determine what I considered to be a successful college experience. I didn't feel the need to get A's all the time or spend hours and hours in the library every night. The best experience for me was meeting new people and being engaged in experiential learning, committing to a few organizations, taking on leadership positions, attending campus events, and even working a few jobs. All while learning myself. By understanding my thoughts on success, I was able to ignore the expectations that were placed on me and create an experience in a place that isn't really considered to be ours. So here's the thing. Authentic doesn't mean that you've solidified who you are and what you're about by the age of 21 or 22. Being authentic can sometimes just mean that you're open to discovering who you really are and that you allow yourself room to grow. Authenticity is understanding that who you are as a freshman will change by the time you're a senior. And it's okay to recognize that you're in the process of evolving. And to know that because you're changing, that doesn't mean that you're not authentic.